back with another one, right? Another impromptu live, but there's a couple of things that have been, we all been watching, or some of us have been watching, or social media has told us we should be paying attention to the Stefon Diggs trial. And a lot of it, I'm glad I did. And, I was going over some of these things yesterday, and I wanted to kind of like live stream it live as it went and happened. But the truth is, some of these things that we're tourists. We said this before. There's some things that other people do better than we do on this channel. Some things that we don't cover in depth, but there's still a lot of lessons that we can take away from it. So, we're going to use a recap from a creator called I Am Not Your Lawyer. And if you're interested in her breakdowns, because I think I find them interesting and kind of to the point, I linked her in the description. You can find her Instagram page and, take it from there. But of course, just want to start it with a shout out to her because she does amazing breakdowns like that. And we are using her breakdown for what we're doing here. Just to be fair, let's just cover that. So, but before that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the responses, the generalized response about when something happens to Black women, and then the seemingly responsibility of Black men in the community, and where Black women end up saying that they're the least protected. And it's a bit of a hot take, and it's not a cancelable hot take, but Travis just sent me this clip with Mark Lamont Hill and his wife on their podcast, and she was saying how it's about the response. His wife was saying it's about the lack of, or the improper response by Black men to Meg, about the vitriolic sort of response. And you get inundated with this sort of topic, this sort of idea that Black men are failing to do something or respond in a certain way. They're supposed to be this way or not. But what I want to say is the internet is the closest thing we have to democracy. You can say what your piece is online without it being an issue, without it being a thing, where it at least is supposed to be. You should be allowed to say what's important to you, what matters to you. And we say this all the time in our spaces, that our community, we're not a monolith. We all don't think the same. We all don't move the same. It's when you have people of similar origins, the way they look, but they differ. When people say they want to date outside their race, that has to be fine, because we all don't adhere to the same idea, the same policy, the same way of moving. We accept it. We say best of luck. You don't just have to spit on us on your way out. That's what we prefer. But if growing up, there was a silent war going on, when I was coming up, there was Nissan, Honda, Chevy. It was a war. Right? You saw them on the road, especially in my Ultima days. You had to dust them. You had to dust them. Even sometimes there was some internal beef between, Ultimas and Maximas. But we just kind of understood that you could buy whatever car you wanted. You didn't have to grieve for my choices, why I got a Nissan versus why you got a Honda. It didn't matter. It was just what it was. We're not a monolith. You're Black, I'm Black. You bought this, you bought that. It doesn't matter. So to take that into a larger sense, now when we see that the call is saying that Black men are not protecting Black women, well, and this is a part that may be cancelable, are all of you deserving of that type of protection? We can acknowledge you, we can see what you're doing, but should we all step in front of the gun, in front of the bullet, because what you're doing is, do you get carte blanche to do whatever you want? Do we not have a say in how we supposed to show up in terms of protection? Can we say that, hey, Meg, you were kind of moving that, and what happened with Clay is unfortunate, and it stops there? Personally, that's my response. It stops there. I don't have to now think about, well, we now have to find a way to, what are we supposed to do? In terms of, are we finding a better way to communicate? I'm always down for that. I'm always down for us to find a better way to actually communicate with one another. I love that for us. I love if we find better ways to do that. Can we look and say we should make better decisions as men and women? Yes, we're always down for that. That's a constant conversation, one that should never disappear. But we also understand we're adults, that you get to make the decision that you want to make with your eyes wide open, or half lidded, or half closed, or closed completely. If you want to decide to embark on this, please understand that people are allowed to have their opinion. I can disagree with Meg Thee Stallion. I can disagree with Cardi B. I can disagree with my mama. Doesn't mean I don't love black women. Doesn't mean that I'm not down to protect black women. It just means you are open to critique. Critiquing does not automatically mean I don't agree with you or I shouldn't protect you. Hey, you kind of should have done this, in my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to take it. It's just a critique. Do I want to see you suffer for it, for what's happening in your life? Well, depending on what you did, but probably no. Do I think you deserve to be, hurt and spit upon? No, I don't think you deserve that, but you got to eat your comeuppance. So, say that to say, if we're looking to say that we're supposed to protect you, we're supposed to do this, in what way or what way are you expecting people to show up online in that sense? How are they supposed to show up? In what fashion? What can they say? What type of compliance do you want? Remember, the internet is the closest thing to a democracy. People can say exactly what they want, whenever they want, how they want. And yes, there can be repercussions for that. We know there's limits to free speech. Some things you cannot say to some people in political offices. You don't get the carte blanche to say that. People will come for you in the black vans and the black suits. But in terms of the black community, in terms of Meg, what are we supposed, if you find a group of men saying, yeah, no, you deserve that to happen, does that mean you're not protected? We understand that while everyone has access to the internet, not everyone, majority of people are not posting on the internet. They're not screaming. They're not in the comment section with all caps. They're not making content. They're looking at it and they're going about their lives. That's where the real life is happening. Do you want protection online? Then you need to create specific spaces for that to happen, where you demand this as the entry fee, this as the token. But if I don't agree with the way Meg is moving, and then I don't agree with the way women are saying men should move, that doesn't mean that you're not protected. It just means that I disagree. There can't be this immediate compliance order or somehow you're wrong. If you continue to push that, all you do is push those that would agree with you, those that you would need to actually affect your change. You push them away. You push them out, and at the very least, you push them to indifference. Whenever you see people complaining about a thing that they want the larger community or culture to change, you want men to act a certain way. Well, you need men to act a certain way. But when you keep trying to kick them, you keep kind of spit on them, what incentive do they have to change? When you don't have a lever to force them to behave a certain way, all you have is to appeal to reason, to appeal to humanity, to appeal to their feelings. But you're shitting on them while that happens. You're complaining how much you're victimized. Okay, who is supposed to protect you from being victimized? The same men that you're calling and you're shouting out. At a certain point in time, we need to stop and say, how can we be more cooperative than combative? This is not a genderless. This is a genderless thing. If you want a better response or you want a better outcome from a group, then appeal to the group. I think we've become so accustomed to using shame and insults and guilt to move the needle socially and how people should move. We try it now. We put it in our movies. We put it in our music. We try to appeal to you in that way, where your eyes are mostly focused, where we know, hey, if you're paying for this content, you're interested in this content. So here is where the content's going to be. But I think us, Hollywood, the larger media, they forget that most people don't exist just in those mediums. Most people are going to say, yeah, I hear about how bad I am as a man all the time. Leave me alone. That becomes some of the best things you can hope for. It's almost like you're screaming that people should accept something. The best you can hope for sometimes is tolerance. It's like, okay, I don't wish you guys to be murdered, to killed in large numbers. I don't wish any of that. But particularly me and mine, I'm very cognizant of who I have in my circle. We check each other. I'm not responsible for what someone else said online, and you deem that as saying black men don't protect you. It's a ridiculous notion that we keep putting forward, and then at the same time, you just turn off people that would be in your corner, would be more active in your corner. But that's that piece on that. right? I'm sure there'll be more content about what comes out with Meg and that. I think I watched someone today. She was at she had courtside seats and Clay missed a shot, and she was like, "That's what you get because of Meg." Yeah, right. It's your life. You get to enjoy and use it in whichever way you deem fit. But now, Stefon Diggs. Right? We all know Stefon Diggs. For you, I'm glad no one's saying, "Oh, we never knew him before." Okay, well, people are very familiar with his game now, right? On and off the field. So we understand the whole Cardi position of it. Lower protection is choice. Yeah, they both choose to have each other. He chose to change his mind. Feelings were hurt, but everyone has the right. Everyone gets to say what they feel about the thing. That's it. You're allowed to. You're allowed to feel differently. You're allowed to say, "Yeah, I'm not really with this." And like we said on the actual live stream pertaining to this, your life can't be dictated, right? That can't be. It shouldn't be dictated by what's happening with someone else's. I think it kind of reveals that you don't have a lot going on. That this sways enough of your being, enough of your person from left to right, up to down, that this happened to whomever. And now I have to change aspects of my life. I get that you were rooting for someone. You wanted someone to win. We all want someone to win in that sort of manner, that sort of sense. But if they don't, take it as a lesson. Take it, say, "Oh, can I learn anything from that?" No, they're so far removed from me that's not my life. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I'm making assumptions after assumptions after assumptions. And these things are normal to do. It's normal for you to make assumptions, to fill in the blanks. I get that. But understand, with every added assumption I make, my level of actually finding or getting closer to truth varies more and more and more and more and more. Make a copy of 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 a copy. You're very far from the original. Some theorize that's how aging actually works. Copy of a copy of a copy, copy. So you're more connected to, we say this on Channel Light. You're more connected to the outcomes of your grandmother than you are to Rihanna. It's hard to believe, but when Rihanna makes a move for her life that makes sense for her life, you have to look and say, I'm going to do that. If Rihanna did it, I can do it. Probably not. Statistically, probably not. Yeah, absolutely. Best if all this came out now, rather than you guys have built something and then put it together and then you have to, pull it apart. It'd be silly for us to hear like he was talking about, I never know. I wasn't sure about this monogamy thing, but I married you. Yeah, at that point, we all can look at Clay as like, what? What? Help us, help us understand. That doesn't make any sense to me. They were together for 8 months. It's not the end of the world. Literally, when the world could be ending. Although oil prices dropped about 13% today, and the stock market is on a little bit of a tear. So, that's not the end of the world. To the point, I was also going over some money content, right? Some De Niro content. And one of the guy was saying, he was criticizing Dave Ramsey about saving money when the world could end. Relax. So relax, right? Let's make plans moving forward like the world is not going to end. So we find ourselves in better planned positions when the world keeps on turning. Right. Don't overspend because you think you're not going to be here in a week. No, relax. I think most people have a vested interest on being on this planet, even if they pretend not to be. That being said, yes, Meg and Clay, you guys, this was not a thing made kismet. They didn't sing songs about this, not yet at least. They didn't divine this in the history texts, in the archives. Relationships happen. They start, they end. Sometimes they end after a very long time. Sometimes they end after a lifetime. Sometimes they never begin. It's part of the game. It's part of the risk. When you, using your celebrity, use a lot of that to have a piece of the attention of the world, then understand now people are in your business. We may not understand the amount of responsibility that comes with being celebrity. Why should we? We're not. I don't think they have classes telling you, okay, so you want to be a celebrity and you finally made it. Now you've got a following. Be careful of what you say. A lot of people don't have media training, and even if they did, they didn't have the wherewithal to behave like they did. Simply posting something like that, a story, post and go. Look how the world turned upside down. Look how many think pieces came out, this, and that. Just because you posted it. And we don't know that other person's point of view. We rarely know the other person's point of view online whenever we end up just seeing one person's point of view. Story time. And there's a woman talking about something that went wrong on a date, how he said this or and then we have to sit there and some of us try to interpret what wasn't said, but we're making a copy of a copy in terms of assumptions. But we don't know because people don't really paint themselves in a poor light and say, yeah, man, I kind of did this. I messed that up. No, he was right to leave me with the bill. He was right. I was on my phone. I did this. No. Sometimes you hear it innocently said, I was a little bit late. And then later on in the story, I was just 45 minutes late. Why wasn't he there when I showed up? Stuff like that. But for the most part, we don't give accurate testimony to what happened. Even when the other person comes and gives their point of view, it's also not accurate. It's also skewed towards that. But we don't have a fair egalitarian system. We just have people getting along online and saying what they want to say. We sit there and say, I guess that makes sense. So in the case with Stefon Diggs, well, one of the things that I'm curious about when I watched it and we got the highlights or we got the recap going. One of the things I was actually curious about is how things go in the terms of the court of public opinion. I'm starting to wonder, do we actually even need to have people go to court if effectively they're going to be guilty based on how people feel about it in the court of public opinion? It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what ends up shaking loose with the trial. People end up supporting whomever strictly because of that. It doesn't seem to matter that, in truth, what happens. Oh yeah, this person was lying. This person said this. Hey, did you actually watch the thing? Well, no. No, I didn't take a look. But why would someone lie about this? That cannot be, in a court of law, that can't be a thing that you use as a defense. Why would they lie? Well, whenever there's money, there's huge incentive to lie, right? There's a lot that you could say. There's a lot to be gained by lying. But we had front row seats to see exactly how a lot of this testimony kind of fell out. But you're going to still have people that never cross that line of saying, you know what, they were right. It's just, well, I believe all women and I stop right there. There's no way to convince me otherwise. There's no way to come and tell me, hey, you may have been mistaken here. We are not open to being wrong. So therefore, our first choice, the first thing we made up, we very rarely backpedal, even when confronted with information, even when confronted with facts, even when confronted, say, hey, this is actually how it shook loose. When we become so invested in just believing the first thing and believing what emotion feels right, we can't do anything with you. To be fair, we just can't do anything with you. Wherever your mind is stuck, right? Like a toddler, this is what you believe. That's it. You let time and experience try to, make the difference, be the difference maker, because you can't do it yourself. So when you see that as men, as women, you just say, all right, cool. I'm happy. Facts don't seem to convince you or sway you, but I can't be a part of this. Again, pick up your ball and go home. Say, hey, listen, man, I wish you the best in this little bubble that you've got going on. Well, yeah, with that being said, we've got more questions, but I'll save it for in between the clips. We've got 3 parts where she does like the recaps day to day, and then I think a bit of the cross-examination. It's curious stuff to me. It's curious in why you would move this way, but we understand the basics, that she worked for him and then they had a relationship of some sorts, maybe sexual in nature, and then she said she strangled him, and she was pressing. This is not civil court. That's the thing. This isn't civil court. This is actual criminal court, criminal case, where if he's found guilty, depending on the charges, there's a fine, maybe jail time, but his livelihood is on the line. I mean, he was already cut from New England, but we don't really care about Mass and Boston teams anyway. But so it's not a thing where he's just, hey, just pay the fine, just pay this amount of money. Typically, what you see, if I'm in the process, if I'm trying to sue you, what I'm going to do first and foremost is, if I can get you guilty on a criminal case, civilly, it's pretty much a lock. If they found you criminally liable, now I'm going after you for damages. Civil cases is usually a lock, right? But this is a great first step to say, boom. If the jury found beyond a shadow of the doubt that you were guilty of X, Y, and Z, civilly, I only need a preponderance of the evidence. It's a much smaller burden of proof. And if I'm on a jury and I say, yo, a jury of the peers already found him guilty of this, my mind is already leaning towards, yeah, he's guilty. Now we just have to decide how much he's supposed to pay for this. So it's not as if this thing has no consequence, but I've rarely seen a man so calm, right? So calm during, I'm not saying you're fighting for your life like R. Kelly, but during a cross-examination or when the main witness is on the stand, you just look like, yeah, I know her. Just listen. Let that be the guide. Let that be the thing that tells you whether or not this thing is right or wrong. But enough rambling about the thing. Again, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, hit that double tap the screen, hit that like. It's the best way to let the algorithm know we're here doing a little thing. Of course, jump in the chat, let us know the thoughts. That's another great thing for the algorithm to get its attention.
I'm not a lawyer, but let's talk about this criminal trial for NFL wide receiver and Cardi B's baby daddy, Stefon Diggs. And if you're trying to get caught up, let me give you the recap. So this is Jamila Adams, aka Mila, and on December 16, 2025, she walked into a Dedham County police station to report an alleged assault. But the assault she's reporting about happened 2 weeks earlier on December 2nd. Now, at first, Mila was hesitant to provide all of the details to the officer, but she eventually reveals that she was a private chef for Stefon Diggs, and that job included her living in his house. According to Mila, on the day of the incident, December 2nd, she and Diggs have been texting about money he owes her. At some point, he comes into her room angry over the text messages and smacked her, put his arm around her neck and choked her, threw her on the bed, and when she tries to again tell him that she just needed to be paid her money, he said, quote, lies, and then walked out. According to Mila, after this incident, she left Stefon's house to visit a friend in New York and then came back a week later to get her things. Now, when the officer asked Mila if she had any photos of the injuries from that day, she tells him she did have some redness that day, but she didn't take any pictures. Now, after giving her statement to police, Mila tells the officer she does not want to file a criminal complaint against Diggs. However, a few days later, she changes her mind and charges are filed.
Sir, if you please stand and face the jurors. Sir, you are placed at bar for the trial, charged with one count of strangulation or suffocation, in that it is alleged that on December 2nd, 2025, you did strangle or suffocate, as defined in General Laws, Chapter 265, Section 15D-A, Mila Adams, in violation of General Laws, Chapter 265, Section 15D-B, and one count of assault and battery, and that it is alleged that on December 2nd, 2025, that you did assault and beat Mila Adams in violation of General Laws, Chapter 265, Section 13AA.
Now, Stefon's defense is basically that Mila is a liar and this assault and strangulation never happened.
The assault, the Commonwealth just described in their opening statement in only a few sentences. It never happened. Did not happen. There was no strangulation. There was no assault. There was no incident on December 2nd or any.
So naturally, you get the breakdown, right? You did this to me this date. So whenever we're looking at this in these cases, whenever there's a difference in terms of monetary earnings, when you're with someone that makes that much more money than you, when you end up around that type of money, and it seems like the golden goose is no longer laying eggs. Okay, you're trying to get that bread. This is what most people already, before the trial even started, this is what they presuppose, that this is happening. Okay. The truth ends up being, usually like that, somewhere in between, right? But when you presuppose that a man is doing this to you, that he hit you, that he attacked you, and it's all over this, it's very easy for the public to say, yeah, I knew it, right? That's what we say, yeah, I knew it. So what was the reason for going to the police station? We didn't press charges. there's a lot of stuff that you're like wishy-washy. I just don't understand. Especially right in this day and age, we completely understand the idea that you got to get this documented. You always want to be in a place where you get these things documented, especially if there's any type of physical assault. I want it documented. I want you to know. I want you to see. I want the photos. I want the evidence. Even if I take the pictures myself, everything's going to be better when it's officially documented when you go to the police. So, I mean, we pause and say something like that just for the people that may watch this that may be in those situations. Go to the police. Don't wait until your scars vanish, the bruising fades. Go to the police. That's 101. Go to the police. Show the markings. If the cops roll up to a domestic violence, they're going to look and say who has markings. And this is a newer sort of thing, newer idea. Just the same way as if you call us for this and we see someone has markings, you don't get to say, I don't want to press charges. The state says, I'm going to press charges because they understand what happens too many times. A woman is abused and she says, I don't want him arrested, leave him be. And then several calls later, not the same day, maybe not the same month, but eventually down the line, you see the pattern emerges until someone is dead. Usually the woman. So the state's like, oh, we're not even going to wait for this. We're going to separate the two of you. And hopefully during that separation, you find the courage to say, I need to get out of this. A lot of times they'll direct you towards crisis intervention where you can get some help. They'll recommend do not be here when he returns, especially if you have a history of this. So it's not as if we're 10, 15 years ago where people didn't know. Yeah, I should probably just get this documented. Where you didn't have a phone always in your hand or at the ready to get this documented. But what we also have is this preponderance of believe all women. If she makes the accusation, that's enough. And later on, you're going to see the accusation was enough for Stefon Diggs to be like, yo, take $100,000 and leave. But, if I was getting paid, if I was in the vicinity of people that are worth hundreds of millions, and all you're going to tell me is take $100,000 and leave a year's salary? No, I'm going to think that the accusation, if you're afraid of it, if you want to settle, that means you don't want the smoke because you know what could happen. For most men, without the monetary resources, well, you're going to have to, hopefully you can put together a defense team. You can hire a lawyer. Most of us don't have the ability to do that, to survive $1,000 emergency, let alone you need this retainer, you need them to look into it. Even if it's frivolous, you still need to mount a defense, especially then. You can't just reply, oh, no, the public defenders, or I'll represent myself, God forbid. You need to mount a defense because your livelihood is on the line. And even as wild as her testimony is, and we'll get to a lot of questions I have regarding why they even prosecuted this, but we'll see what she has to say.
The other day, there were 6 people in Mr. Diggs's home on December 2nd, and not one heard or saw anything out of the ordinary. The Commonwealth has no physical evidence. There are no medical records. There are no photos or videos showing any injuries.
And so the first witness in the case is Mila Adams. And she starts off by describing her relationship with Diggs.
We met in December 22 through an Instagram message. He first wanted me to cook for him. It started out as friends. We met. It started out as friends, became sexual. And we would meet up.
Now, real quick, pay attention to the way she's just dressed, right? And this is not shaming women, but it's a strategy. You come there looking presentable, conservative, not showing a lot of skin. Does this look like someone that Stefon Diggs, has reported, history that he would go and say, let me just DM her looking, like a librarian, like a teacher? No, there's a different side to that. But when we're showing up here, this becomes the issue. Now, we also should remember that juries aren't as dumb as one would like to believe. They're not as unsophisticated as one would like to believe. They are swayed by their feelings. That does exist. That jurors aren't told not to feel. So the look and how you present yourself is often important. That's why when you see people in court, they're dressed up. They're not looking like, You don't want to, if you have a witness or you have someone on trial, if you're the defense, you want to make sure they have a suit. They want to have something they can change into. You don't want them in the orange jumper because the jury already envisions them in that way. Same way with her. She's coming to look presentable towards a certain light. What are you saying? What's the no to about, you're in a little bit of delay. So when me ranting like that, I may miss some things. But yeah, let's continue this.
Hang out. We decided I would come work for him like February of 2025.
Were you going to be living with him?
Yes.
Mila says she started living in Diggs's house in July of 2025, and by November, there was an issue involving her and Stefon, which carried over to one of Stefon's other employees.
An Instagram DM message was sent to his child's mother's friend, and this message was stating that I was telling his personal business of women that he was sleeping with that worked with us, that worked with me. I was confronted by Mr. Diggs if I said these things. Mr. Diggs had a ongoing sexual relationship with Lindsay Bolin, and this person, she didn't like me, that fact that I was in the house.
So you mentioned Lindsay Bolin. Who's that person?
Lindsay Bolin, it works for Mr. Diggs.
So you were there first. He was sleeping with you, and you were sleeping out. You guys sleeping there first. Hey, DM'd, come cook for me. What's up? What's up with that? I see that thing is fat. Come cook some fat meals. I appreciate it during the season. But you guys have sex first, then you got employed. So, and then you're living at the house. Cool. Then he brings in someone else that he's also probably having a similar deal with. But who are you upset with now? Are you upset with your employer, Stefon Diggs, or are you upset with your sometimes lover, Stefon Diggs? Because one, we can understand why you would be upset. We would get that. We would get why any other person coming into the house, into the establishment, and that did not respect the pecking order of the harem, because that's what he's building. That's what he has. We can understand the animosity. Otherwise, why would you be upset at the live-in cook? There'd be no reason. Let's try to keep that in mind, just as we do more of the recap.
She sent me a message first, per his instruction, and called me a name, excuse my language, you guys, a bitch. And she just went on and on and on in this message about me.
Y'all thinking what I'm thinking? So that's Cardi, Mila, and Lindsay? Minimum? So according to Mila, this issue between her and Lindsay leads into what happens on December 2nd. The background is Steph had previously planned for him, his staff, and his friends to head to Miami for Art Basel, or Basel, whatever it is. But because of the issue between Mila and Lindsay, Mila gets uninvited. And December 2nd is the day she and Stefon had a conversation about it.
What were you doing that day?
Mr. Diggs came downstairs. He asked me what was I doing for the week. And I asked him, oh, so you weren't going to tell me that I wasn't able to come to Art Basel? And
does that sound like the question you ask your employer, or that the question you ask, your lover? It's passive aggressive. You're not going to allow me to do this, right? I'm not supposed to be coming with you. This isn't, again, for us. And if we were jurors, we were watching this, we were looking to be like, yeah, that's a weird thing for you to say. He's asking you just the same, like, yo, so what, after you guys have sex, so what are you about to get into? Whatever it is, it doesn't involve me. That's why I'm asking, because I know what I'm going to do. I know where I'm going to be. What are you doing for this week?
And he explained why. And it was because of the situation with me and the other coworker, Lindsay Bolin. I was upset with him, not upset at the fact I couldn't go to Art Basel. Me and him have a relationship for over 4.5 years. He could have told me weeks ahead of time, because me and his girlfriend, Cardi B, we were talking about having like outfits and stuff. It was like a whole thing being planned, and he just waited till the last day.
You was planning outfits with Cardi while sleeping with Cardi's man? Ciao.
So I was more upset with him not letting me know I wasn't going to come like at an earlier time.
Did you receive any texts or send any texts to Mr. Diggs?
No, the morning text that was in the morning. We had went back and forth. I was in the bedroom. Mr. Diggs, he comes in.
Right. That's an excellent question. We need you cooking at Art Basel? Or are you cooking for us who are not going to be here in this place? Now, I guess a better question, right? A better question, a fairer question. Would you accept, right? Would you just accept if you came into the situation? He's like, listen, I need you to cook. That's a good talent. I'm going to pay you for it. Don't worry about it. But also, I want to touch you from time to time. I want to enjoy myself with you from time to time. But look, you live up in the house. But there are going to be other people that are like that. Obviously, at some level, you didn't mind. I think you minded when it came down to someone else that was not famous, that was on just like you, versus Cardi B. Well, what would you have to do? How could you compete with that? So you understand, all right, this is going to be the main one. Let me get on the good side. Let's plan outfits together when we're going. And I'm going to make an assumption. But what I need, what do I need that for? What I need Cardi, if Cardi is with me, we're going out, we're going to do this Art Basel thing. This is who we're going to be with. Why do I need you there? Outside of you not cooking, outside of that, right? We're not going to be, you're not going to be cooking for us here. And we're probably not going to be having sex while I'm out there with her. Why do I need you here? Now, if you wanted to go, I'm sure if you probably posed it differently, hey, Art Basel is coming up. Yo, do you mind if I come? I've never been. I'd like to. Don't worry about me. I'll be out the way, make my own plans. But I'll be around. Whatever. Wink, wink, nod. If you need a little, she may be distracted. I don't know, right? But me, I'm out the way. You know me, I'm out the way. That's how it be. Just like Denzel, I'm out the way. If you want to be in that, but rather than get like sort of this passive aggressive, which already cuts off, like, yo, I'm not going to do anything with you. Yeah, the chef can come. Yo, come through. Just, maybe Cardi's asleep. You can come chef something up for me. But otherwise, not be easy. You let me, let us rock.
He looks very angry. He was upset from the text exchange we were having. Was leaning against the dresser. He asked me to get up to come here. I got up off the bed and I came across to him and I stood in front of him, like I stood on the side of him. He was like, what was all that shit you was talking? And I was beginning to say, you said, and I couldn't finish my statement, and he smacked me. Right hand, right side of my face.
Which part of your face got hit?
The right side of my face.
Now, again, I don't know if this image is inverted, but he slapped you with his right, and it hit. It's just an awkward motion. I'm not saying it can't happen. It's just an awkward motion.
I went to try to like block him, like push him like this.
And then what happened?
And then he Can I have a second? Can I have a second?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you take a minute.
Now, listen, I know we all think we can do what we see, actors and actresses do, cry on demand. We think we can deliver lines, but we've never. Juilliard exists for a reason. Theater programs exist for a reason. So you can actually sell the thing where you go from actually having the emotion to faking that you're actually having the emotion. It's a skill. And a lot of us, we don't even lie properly. We don't even lie properly. And we know the jury found him not guilty, so they didn't find her credible. Part of it is this. In the retelling, you see what actual people who've been through stuff that is traumatizing to them, how they look. From the beginning to the end, you can see how they look. This looks like, I'm trying to sell you something. I'm trying to convince you about how detrimental, how hurtful this was in order for you to sort of go with it. It's just not, it's not believable. And again, this has nothing to do with the color of her skin or anything like that. It's just, you can see, make the judgment for yourself, as the jury already did.
All right. When I went up to push his hand, like block him, like block him, he took his arm and he like came around my neck with the crook of his elbow around my neck, and he began to choke me, pressure on my neck with his elbow.
You were facing him. He put his arm around your neck.
Yes, he like spun me around.
He spun you around.
Yeah, like I will have to show you more so than I can describe it. When he slapped me, I went to like try to hit him back like this. And then it was like he tackled me, like got me to try to keep from pushing him or protecting myself. And he put his arm around my neck like this, and he was choking me. When we got to the side of the bed, I was pushing back. I started to do a move that I saw off of social media. He said to me, that shit is not going to work.
So when you say you saw him, you tried to do
It
a
was
move.
a defensive move where you try to put your hands underneath the person that's trying to choke you. It's like something I saw on a women defensive page or something. And he said that shit you see on Instagram is not going to work. And that's when he got tighter. Like the more I was trying to pull his hand, he got tighter. And then
I'm not advocating for for abusing women. I don't think any of this happened. But I agree with that part of this is not going to work. Like if you see something, you don't practice it or you don't rep it again and again and again and again and again until you can do it in your sleep, that's not going to work. You can't move enough surprise, with aggression. It's not going to work. It may it may make you feel good, right? But that's not going to work, right? But even adding in this details in here, all of this would result in significant bruising. Again, fights are violent. Fights are vicious, and it's easy. It's easy for you to get roughed up, to get bruised. There would be marks. There would be even down to scratches. When someone is actually trying to choke you, and it's like that. It's to the point where they're actually meaning to do you harm. Yeah, you fight, you claw, you do whatever you can. There are bruises that's seen, even bruises on your assailant. It's almost very often when someone claims that this has happened to them, they check the person, they check whoever they're interviewing. Can you lift up? We just want to check if you have bruises, you have scratches, you have bruised knuckles, a cut somewhere. It's very easy to be like, you may have spun a great story, but those bruises tell one of their own. So him just saying, "Hey, it's not going to work," and you just stop. Again, we're just looking at it and trying to say, how are you selling this? How does this make sense to anyone involved here?
Back. And then he like fell down on top of me on the bed because I was on the side of the bed. And it was like, he was like letting me, like, I guess he was about to let me go. But as he was getting up, he like pulled my hair. And he was like, yeah, I thought so. He got up off of me, off the bed behind me, and he walked around the bed. I told him I still haven't got paid. He said lies. And he was like, so what are you doing? So what are you doing for the week? And I was like, I'm staying here. He said, I don't want anyone in my house. I don't want anyone here. I was like, okay, so who's going to get my ticket? He said, who always gets your ticket? And that's it. He walked out of the room.
So you had this traumatic experience, right? And this is just me being, imagine what a juror would be looking at and paying attention. You had this traumatic experience. That cool. Yeah, it got physical, it got violent for the first time ever. And after it's all done, you still like, I still gotta get paid. That's an interesting level of gangster. That's a very interesting level of gangster that I, rarely see people actually exhibit. Just like, nah, I gotta get paid. I don't care what it is. And then he goes back to the same question. So what are you doing this week? It's a weird interjection to input there. And again, most people are going to look at me like, this is a little off. This is a little strange. I want to believe you, right? I want to find this man guilty because I want to bring down superstars because I have a lot of jealousy there. But you're not selling it to us.
I looked down at my pants. I had peed my pants, and I had just came off my cycle, and I was bleeding really bad again. I guess because I was so scared, I changed my pants, and I cleaned up myself, and I came back in the room. And that's when I text Sonny to get my flight.
After the incident, Mila says she stayed in her room and initially had plans to go home to Atlanta, but she ended up calling another coworker / friend who told her she should come to New York instead.
So I then proceeded to change my flight to go to New York.
Did you see Mr. Diggs anytime after that happened that day?
He was getting a massage, and I was leaving out. By the time I saw him, I was handing over birthday gifts that I had got
Handing out birthday gifts. Who were you handing out birthday gifts
to him.
This is a gift that you had already purchased, or?
Yes, I normally give him a birthday gift every year.
And who did you meet up in New York City?
Shy Charles. And she picked me up from the airport, and we went to pick up her friend, Talia. And then we went to her ex-husband's house to pick up something or to do something she had to do. We were there, we ordered wings and watched a movie, watched some videos. I didn't tell anyone there because they have their own interpersonal sexual relationship. So I wouldn't have never told her anything like that.
So that's another one that he has a relationship with that you still, maybe I just don't have enough money. Right? Maybe that's it. Maybe there's a level of right. Yeah, the gift is being returned. Right. And I'm not doing anything with you, anyone in your circle, anyone loyal to you. I'm not. We're not sister wives. We don't have a show on TLC. We're not doing any of this. Yo, he just choked me. Can you believe that? Your girl shot up the money good. No, there's nothing like that happening. You're telling me that your first inkling after being choked is to still stay in that house. It's hard to believe, right? It's hard to believe that he beat you. Then during the whole thing, you pissed yourself, you bled, and then you stayed. Cool, say less. I know what I'm doing next week, right? I know exactly what I'm doing next week. It's me in front of a lawyer. Don't even worry about it, right? I'm going right now. I'm not even changing myself. I'm not even changing. I'm going right to the police. Say this happened. That house that I just left, that I just ran away from, I'm going to own it. Don't you worry about it. I'm going to own it.
I stayed in New York Tuesday to Tuesday, so 7 days.
Now, while Mila is in New York, she starts reaching out to ask about unpaid wages owed to her.
And who did you talk to Mr. Diggs directly, or did you talk to his finance people? Who did you talk to about this?
It was a chain of command. Like I would talk to his assistant, but his assistant was under investigation for stealing watches and money. So I don't know if my things.
Now, wait a minute.
At some point, did someone from Mr. Diggs bring up a non-disclosure agreement?
Yes, Mr. Diggs likes to abuse people and try to hide his abuse.
That objection is sustained. That portion of the witness's answer will be stricken and the jurors will disregard it.
So this is when you start seeing a lot of what makes okay or questionable testimony sort of worse. When hopefully you don't know, but when you're in court, you're asking, and especially when you're giving testimony, you say what happened. They direct you, because again, they're lawyers, they know better than you. They direct you in a capacity where this makes sense, where they're trying to build a narrative, trying to build a foundation. And then when you keep now trying to say, well, let me interject, let me throw a little jab. There's a difference between, and this is why they say people get a lawyer. There's a difference between the way you talk to people in your relationships when you're trying to convince them that you're right about something, or when you realize, and men, we can attest to this, when we've been in conflict, it stops being about what is the facts and you start going underhanded to throw little jabs here. So we're going to redirect the conversation. So we stop talking about the original issue. Now we start talking about whatever you kept throwing in there. One of the hardest things I had to learn how to do as a man and as to become a better communicator is to keep in mind what we're talking about. When it comes down, you're talking to these things with women, it's okay. Listen, you're trying to pull this off on tangents. Okay, we can talk about that right after we finish this. That we have a space available to talk about these things, but here we have the capacity to have multiple conversations about a multitude of topics, just not at once. We're not going to do that. We're going to stick to this script. We're going to run it out. We're going to end this play, or at least this chapter. We're going to take a little intermission, and then we're going to bring up these other isolated things you thought supported your argument and only detracted from it. It doesn't engender you to this conversation at all. It just shows that you are ahead of the game in your mind. I'm asking these questions. You know where I'm walking you towards. You know what the truth is. And it's not going to be one that is actually conducive for you winning your case or stating your point. You know what you're saying is kind of off base. You know it's flimsy at best. You know it's propped up with emotion, with feeling. But I didn't adhere to any of those feelings when we started this. We're in a fact-finding case, a fact-finding expedition. And I'm not finding a lot of facts. I'm finding a lot of holes. But now, well, it's because, he abuses people and puts an NDA. Probably. Right? Probably. Even if he does, what does that mean to this? To what we're saying right here, what does that mean to this? It's like we had it on that other stream when we talk about Meg and Clay. When people were in the chat and they were kind of upset about X, Y, and Z. It was like, yeah, we can have that conversation separately. Should he have cheated on her? No, we still don't agree with the way she moves. Two separate ideas, two separate things that we can hold space for. When we move like that, that's when you say we can get closer to actually find a solution to this. The solution can't be, I don't feel good. I don't like this. That's never the thing.
At some point, were you given some information about a non-disclosure agreement by someone who worked for Mr. Diggs?
Hopefully she can answer.
Yes.
And when was this?
A couple days after the assault.
Now, shortly after Mila filed her police report, she sent over screenshots of text messages between her and Steph. But on the stand, Mila admits that she did delete some of those messages before she turned them over.
I deleted messages because making the report to the police in my previous abusive relationship,
Ma'am,
I'm telling why.
stop.
So they try that question again.
Why did you delete those phrases when you provided those text messages to the Dedham police?
Because when I was abused in my previous relationship, when I would say things,
The objection is sustained.
he would.
The objection is sustained. There's no question there. Again, the jurors will disregard it. Sidebar.
Respectfully, you can't talk about your previous abusive relationship during the criminal trial of another man. You literally can't do that. And so the prosecutor tries one more time.
Why did you delete text messages when you provided them to the Dedham police?
The fear of how I'll be perceived.
There you go.
So before we start part two, this is, again, you can see parallels to what happens when you're having normal conversations without a stenographer, without a judge, without a court, where here's a justification why I did these things that looks a little suspect, look a little questionable. In my previous, okay, no, we're not subject to that. It's only when you're talking about relationships do people feel as if, hey, you should be subject to what happened before. This and happened with this before. Now you're subject to this. I moved like this because it happened like this before. Again, that doesn't really hold any weight to what we're saying, and it doesn't really excuse. Yet, why'd you delete some text messages? Not all the text messages. You deleted some of them. Now, if you don't have an understanding of how actual phones work, when you actually send someone a message, they have a copy of the same message. When even if they delete it, then it still exists with your carrier. And when you go to court, you make accusations, especially criminal court, especially civil court, when there are punitive penalties, one being the, your freedom is at stake, two, there being a monetary thing, or both. Yeah, you get to subpoena. You want as close to accurate testimony as you can, and text messages are going to give that. When you now look like as if you deleted it, now the judge, and being on the good side of the judge is also important, because it's not common, but a judge could look at the jury and say, you guys got it wrong. I'm vacating that what you said. And this is what we're saying is actually happening. This is on the record. So if the jury is just swayed by feeling and emotion, it's obvious they're not adhering to actual law, right? And let's make the distinction clear. When we see those like divorce courts and Judge Judy, those things, both parties swear to agree to abide by the ruling of said TV judge. That's not really happen. That doesn't happen when you go to actual court. The judge on TV can sway it and see what's more dramatic, what makes more sense, just on their feeling, and they can make their case. And then you just say, well, we agreed to this, and on the way out. Make your case. You don't really follow a lot of rules of law, discovery. You just say, hey, here's the evidence I have. Let them make their decision. But that's a different thing. In actual court, this is why you actually want to have a competent lawyer. In this case, she's a plaintiff. Prosecutor is the one that's charging this case. We have to look and now ask questions about the prosecution. What, why, and why? If you see this is the testimony of your witness, and it's not like this is the first time you come across this, when she comes and brings her case forward, and as much as it doesn't seem like it's fair, it's justice, they have to evaluate whether the case has merits. And there can be evidence that can exist. There can be witnesses that can exist. But is the witness credible? God forbid something happens to you, but you on the stand, it's not for you. You're sweating, you're stuttering, right? You look like the devil incarnate. Yeah, no jury is going to believe you. You may have everything right on this case, but the way you present yourself, the way you seem you can't follow the judge's instructions and actually how to respond. When you have to keep interrupting, you say, no, that's not, he didn't ask you that. He didn't say anything about that. But remember, it's the prosecutor. This is such her attorney, the one working hand in hand with her. You don't think they go over the questions in the testimony, how to ask these things? Sometimes what they do is they'll even answer you. They want the jury to know about something before, but they can't get it in a smooth way. So they have you say something and let the defense object. If they don't object, I got it in. If they do object, even when they tell you, the judge says, hey, strike that. Don't use that for consideration when you guys go back there and deliberate. You guys aren't robots. We don't have a neuralizer. We can't flash you. We can't get rid of the last 30 seconds testimony. It's in there. Just the same way you sometimes try to sequester juries and say, hey, don't go out there in the big bad world and listen to the news and listen to anything else. That's almost impossible to do today. Opinions matter. Even though the law doesn't have anywhere available for opinions in this case. Judges get to issue their opinions on different motions, but that's up the appeals courts, that's Supreme Court. Right here on trial, you're already running afoul of the actual judge. And the judge has to think, the prosecutor prepped you. The prosecutor prepped you. And I'm arguing like I'm arguing with a bad beat. This isn't how it works in court. Right now, in your normal day-to-day arguing how it would behoove you, would help you to sway people around you, your girlfriends would be like, hey, he did that too? Yeah, we would believe you, would be with you. But on the facts, even if our eyebrows are raised, you'd be like, yeah, but, oh, you were abused before? Girl, I understand it. Oh, girl, I get it now. Not so much. That's not really how this thing is playing out. It's not how this thing is actually working out. But we're moving on to part two of this fiasco. Let's take a look.
That wrapped up Mila's direct examination, and then it was time for cross. And Diggs' attorney points out a key difference between the story Mila told on the stand just now versus what she told the officer back in December when she first reported this assault.
You told the police officer that your fight with Mr. Diggs on December 2nd was over money.
Yes.
Except you just testified under oath to this jury that you didn't start talking about money until December 5th, right?
What did you say? I had been begging for my money since December the 5th. Mr. Diggs, and throughout those messages, you can see that I was begging for my money since that day.
Do you recall testifying under oath to this jury that your fight on December 2nd was about you were told you couldn't go on
I was
land?
angry at Stefon because we were friends, and he told me at the last minute I could not go to Art Basel.
And yet when you walked into the police station on December 16th, you said you had been having an ongoing text exchange over money owed to you.
Okay, I also didn't put in the police report our sexual relationship because I was ashamed. The police report got leaked. I didn't put a lot of things. The most important thing was the attack in the police report. Me reporting anything outside of why he got upset, I didn't feel the need to put it. I was scared of how it received by the public. He's in a very public relationship with Cardi B. So I did not put a lot of things in the police report. My most important thing was him assaulting me and choking me and slapping.
So now this bears a question. Is it all right that you guys are having this relationship, or you guys, everyone in the house is having this relationship, as long as it doesn't get out and embarrasses you, then that is the determinant factor. But if you're going and making a police report and you're trying to explain what happened, it's best to give the full report, especially if, again, you have to look at the prosecutor here, because we'll just say that we'll file that under ignorance, and she's paying the ignorance tax for it now. But the prosecutor is supposed to sit down with you and say, why didn't you put that in there? Do you have an explanation for that? I'm supposed to prepare you. If I'm the prosecutor, I'm supposed to prepare you for the areas in which your testimony is going to be weak. If I was the defense attorney, and sometimes what they do, they'll hire out defense attorneys, or at least junior attorneys, to cross you, to prep you for that, to say, these are pitfalls, these are where the case gets a little murky and weak. They're going to challenge you on why you did not go to the cops immediately when this happened, at least not the next day. But almost 2 weeks pass before you show up to the cops and say, yo, this happened. They're going to ask you for proof. They're going to ask you for why proof doesn't exist. It's not as if we were in the throes of Me Too, where this would have been an open and shut. We would have threw him under the bus and then decided, oh shit, we should have a trial for him. But it's pro forma. We're going to find him guilty anyway. It's not then. That's not this.
I didn't feel the need to explain it to the police officer.
Ms. Adams, I'm sorry. Please answer the question.
Now, to be fair, I think she's trying to say that the last text exchange that led up to the incident did reference money. Like, if you look at this screenshot, if the most recent message is at the bottom, like an iPhone would be, that would mean before the show me text, she told Steph, quote, "You will be paying me out for the season and the money you said you would give me for my business." The problem is, it seems like she deleted what that message was actually in response to. And the deleted message provides even more context to this conversation.
The last text exchange was me saying, you need to pay me out for the rest of the season. I'm out of your life. Give me the money for my business in that order. That was the last text exchange. His response to me.
Well, ma'am, before we get to his response, why don't we get
you
to
will
what
be paying me out for the season and the money you said you would give me for my business. Wasted my, excuse my language, time being here because you have a, excuse my language again, circus going on. I am out of your life. I am ruining that life.
All right, Ms. Adams, you're going.
What you just read into the record, that was a response to a text message that Steph sent to you, correct?
Yes.
And in that request, in that message that Steph sent to you, you understood you were getting fired, right?
No.
What Steph wrote to you is, "I'ma leave you be. Thank you for cooking for me for this season. I appreciate you. Hate it even got to this, but oh well." And you understood when you received that he was telling you you were not going to be cooking for him anymore.
No.
You didn't.
I think a normal person would make that assumption very easily. They would make that assumption very easily. He told you, yo, you're talking about season, like the end of it, pay me out. When you say that, if I go to my boss today and say, you need to pay me out, he's going, in what way? Right? In what way? But we all know the context. I'm no longer going to be working here. You're talking about you got a effing circus here. And at least that part is true. But when you were a clown in the circus, when you were one of the main attractions, at least you were feeding the people in the circus to turn around and try to throw shade at it. It was fine for a time. But the minute you did not make the Art Basel cut, no, it was fine when you were visiting in New York with someone else that was also part of the circus. When Cardi B joined the circus, you understood your place there. As long as you all felt you were getting some sort of special treatment, but Art Basel was it. It seemed like that was the tipping point when you realized he can't have enough. He can't give you the type of attention. You don't have that real. Even if you don't think it's a relationship, you may be looking at it as, well, I was here first, and of course Cardi B would supplant me. But when the rest of us here are not Cardi, but why does everyone else get to go? Why am I not going? And then I don't know if we'll get to it where he said, yes, because you got in a fight with the other chick. It has nothing to do with Cardi. You got in a fight with this one. The one with originally when she came, she said we didn't like each other. Because you don't understand how this is supposed to be played. Whenever we talk about, we see videos like this about, transactional nature relationships. When you play that transactional game, he who has a gold makes the rules. He who has a gold is king. And he's telling you, well, this is how my kingdom's set up. You're going to cook for me. And while you're cooking, make sure, you don't wear nothing, outside of that apron. I'm enjoy that. Thank you. Then when someone else comes in here, they're going to do my hair. I'm also enjoy that. Right. Don't worry about it. It's an intimate thing when people do your hair. Be easy with that. Right. And as long as I don't care if you all know. I don't care if you all know. What are you going to do to get this level of treatment? Who else is going to do this for you? That becomes the ultimate high joker. If you can find that you were surrounded by people that could do this for you, then fine. Maybe he said it's done with the before. Was it serious? It said they've been talking for 4 years, which was before Cardi. Yeah. She didn't like the new role. How could you realistically, right? Let's go big screen. So we're realistic. How could you realistically think you as a chef could come, it would still be on? Why would Cardi B come and say, oh, you guys been doing this for 4 years? I understand my place. No, Cardi B, right? Cardi B. All right, man, this is Cardi. This is how it works. She's in charge now. She's the head. Whatever we now fit into her availability. I'm out the way. You get to feel like you're the main one, even though you always knew you weren't the main one, because he's got this. And the reputation behind it. You weren't even in the limelight of the ones that were the baby mamas, but you were part of this secret harem. Cool. Cardi B came in the house. Okay, cool. You're not that. Is it still a preferable role for being out here, being with the rest of us, right? Being in the streets, in the trenches, trying to deal with us regular degular men, right? Making $60,000 a year. I can't put you in a home, pay you that much money, say you cook for me, and be cool. And also, I got some flights for you here and there. I can't do that for you. An NFL, player can. Stefon Diggs is doing it for you. So you kind of have to bend over and adhere to whatever he says. Yeah, she got demoted to a side, right? How can that be a problem as a chef? The sides sometimes make the meal. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to be cool with that. It's natural. It's natural. You want steak and potatoes, or you just want steak by itself? You want steak and broccoli, or you just want steak by itself? Right? I just came in. Yeah, appreciated hot dog. Yeah, hey, listen, babe, I worked hard today. You came back. Oh, was that a hot dog? Man, girl, I love you. Yo, thanks. But no, Stefan is like, what? You're a chef that probably cooking mediocre meals, and I just kind of like the way you're shaped. I slid into your DMs, not off man, them oxtails you made look phenomenal. I had to try them. Oh, just so happens we got such chemistry and survive. Come, how about you come live with me and cook for me? That's such a tight line. Why don't you come cook for me full time?
Understand that?
No.
And that's why you responded with, you will be paying me out the season and the money you owe me.
No.
Because you knew you were about to lose your job, right?
I was not about to lose my job.
You didn't understand, I'ma leave you be. Thank you for cooking for me this season. I appreciate you. Hate it even got like this as a sign that you were about to lose your job?
No.
Okay, girl. Steph's attorney then moves on to Mila's injuries from the incident and asks why she never took any.
So yeah, no, he definitely he looked at that BBL and said, yep, that's for me. I like that. Was she a chef when he met her? Yeah, he slid into her DMs. She was a chef already. And they met up and they were friends. And then they started effing. Then he said, come cook for me. You started sexually. You started as a sexy chef. So now the lines are already blurred. Then they asked him, say, yo, you got to sign this NDA. okay, then everything is smooth for years. And then it's, people coming in and out. You still fine with that. Still fine with that. Even Cardi will fine with. You guys are planning matching outfits, remember? It's only until it's like, yeah, you understand what the demotion actually entails. You're not coming to this thing. I'm asking you, hey, so what you going to do this week? Where you going to be? Oh, I don't want anyone in my house. Okay. Right? All right, great. What are you supposed to do? You don't really have a leg to stand on there. You don't want anyone. Hey, don't worry about it. You're never going to be here. You're going to Art Basel. Hey, listen. I'll come down there, right? No, my dollar, right? I'll just be around. I always want to go Art Basel myself. But yeah, no, we'll vacate this place. No, you're good. No, you don't have to pay. I'm not cooking for the week. You're not going to pay me. I'll be out doing my thing. Simple. You keep going. And then, when you leave, then you cry in your pillow and say, damn, man, I'm losing my status, losing my position. But at least you're still employed. And especially in this economy, you're not going to find a deal like that.
Photos.
You didn't have any injuries when you walked into the police office on December 16th, did you?
No, because that happened on December 2nd.
Right. So any injuries that you would have had, you had a reason for why they weren't there, right?
It happened, it faded. The fading went away the night.
Right. And did you take any pictures of your injuries?
I was in shock. First thing was not to take pictures. It was get it together.
Now, even though Mila didn't take any pictures to record her injuries, it turns out there are some pictures of Mila in New York around that time.
And Shai has a dash cam right in her car, doesn't she?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you know that you were being recorded on that dash cam on December 2nd?
No.
Did you know you were being recorded on December 3rd?
No.
You know now you were recorded, correct?
Yes.
And you've seen the videos that came from Shai's dash cam in her car, true?
No.
Oh, you haven't seen them yet?
No.
So Shai was driving the car, is that right?
Yes.
And then you're in the front passenger seat as we see you?
Yes.
And then did Tali sit in the back behind you?
Behind Shai.
I'm sorry?
Behind
Shai?
Shai.
Okay. And this was all on December 2nd?
Yes.
And this is the day you say you were violently assaulted?
Yes, that doesn't justify or prove that I wasn't assaulted because I learned how to save face.
And that's you in Shai's car again?
Yes.
And this is the next day, right? It's December 3rd. Okay. And there was one night where you and Tali were kind of goofing around with the video and taking videos. Do you remember that?
I don't recall that.
Okay. Ms. Adams, that was you on that video, correct?
Yes.
All right. First of all, shout out to the court using VLC players. Real ones know that's the superior player over Apple, over most players. So VLC, yeah, that's the way. But yeah, that's hard. It's hard to be like, yeah, this is what happened. And even when you want to say, I learned how to keep it internal, I learned how to save face, you're dancing, right? But then, we also get to see the BBL that probably got the original attention in the first place. So we learned some things right there: VLC player and BBL and dancing soon after the abuse. All these are critical depending on which side of it is important to you.
From there, the attorney starts asking Mila about her interactions with some of Steph's other staff, but that leads to this exchange.
You've mentioned Mr. Diggs' assistant, Sunny, a couple of times, right?
Stealing Sunny, yes.
I'm sorry?
Stealing Sunny, that's what he calls her.
Your Honor, I move to strike, and I'd ask that the witness be instructed to please answer a question.
That answer will be stricken. The jurors will disregard it.
Sunny at home, like,
Now why am I in it?
And you could have did it.
See how I get wrong
because you never apologized.
Next up, Diggs's attorney addresses Mila's claim that Steph owes her for back wages, and she wants to be clear that the attorney calls them back wages.
All right, so your claim, I guess, is that Steph owed you money.
It's not a guess. Stefon did. Back wages. Wages owed. It was wages. I think you should use the correct language.
The correct language
is
for your
wages.
Civil lawsuit?
I don't have a civil lawsuit.
You were paid $2,000 per week to cook for him, right?
Yes.
I have to keep reminding myself that this is a criminal trial because everything about this feels like a civil lawsuit, right? Doesn't it seem like this is about her suing Steph instead of him actually facing criminal charges for this?
So on December 1st, this is the day before you say you were assaulted, you submitted an invoice to be paid, didn't you?
Yes.
And you said on that invoice dated December 1st that you were owed payment of $2,000 for three weeks in November, and you were owed grocery reimbursement for $3,179.06, right?
Yes.
And that was what you submitted to get payment.
Yes.
And it turned out, Ms. Adams, you had gotten paid for 2 of the 3 weeks that you said you hadn't gotten paid for, right?
This is missing a whole lot of stuff.
The yes or no question.
I can't answer your question correctly without the proper evidence.
To show that Mila had in fact been paid for the wages she says Steph owes her, the attorney pulls up text messages of Mila admitting she had been paid.
And you write to Sonny, hey, so I looked over my transfers, payment history, and they sent payments, 11/7 and 11/21, totaling $4,000.
So one thing I really want to point out, and it's there's a difference in someone's reputation and how you view them. I never would view Stefon Diggs as being this meticulous or having this system around him. These people that are responsible say, hey, this is what's spending, this was going in and out. This is your side piece that cooks the side pieces. She still has to submit the proper invoices for reimbursement. You're still treating this very, very much like a business. And I know it's probably not him, but it's the image that I think about when it comes to him. You can be, you can do what you want as long as you have the proper people around you, supplementing, keeping the empire on track. This is a great example of anyone who ever, somehow makes it rich and then DMs chef that has a BBL and decides to bring them into the house, have sex with them, and then eventually ask them to cook for them, and then let them know that you may have been here the longest, but you are not the most important because I got a very famous female rapper pregnant during her the ongoing divorce with another famous rapper. If that happens, you got the map is already, here it is.
See that?
Yes.
So you knew that you had actually been paid for 2 of those 3 weeks that you tried to get paid for again, right?
What's your name? I never got your name.
Did you know
I
that
don't
you
know.
had
I was trying to address you by your name because I'm sorry. I don't know. I can't answer that question correctly.
You knew on December 9th that you had been paid for 2 of the 3 weeks you said you hadn't been paid for, didn't you?
I don't understand the question.
And so that last week, that was a week you didn't work, right?
Because I was sent home.
Right. So you weren't in the kitchen cooking. So you weren't in the kitchen cooking that week, right?
No.
Okay. And now if you can read this text message that you sent to Steph Diggs on that same day, December 9th.
She's saying Steph Diggs like the actual friends, right? Like, nah, man. Me and Steph, we be talking all the time.
Hi. So I looked over the payments. Are you not paying me for the week you told me to go home? If not, that's fine. And just for my past employers, when I'm asked not to work, I'm still paid because I'm only with them for the season.
So that takes care of all of the weeks that you said you weren't paid for on December 1st, right? 2 weeks you had already been paid for. 1 week you didn't work, and you told Steph on December 9th, if you don't want to pay that, that's fine. Right?
Yes.
And then in regards to the NDA, Diggs's attorney says that was really just standard protocol that had never been done with Mila because of the way her employment started.
Is that as an email you received from Melissa Goddard on December 13th?
Yes.
And the subject line is NDA payment. She tells you she's Melissa, Mr. Diggs's bookkeeper, right?
Yes.
So you hadn't talked to her before December 13th because she's introducing herself right now.
Yes.
Okay. She says, please return the completed NDA provided to you by Sonny to this email address, right?
Yes.
This is required for employment with Mr. Diggs or any of his entities. Right?
Yes. That's
Sonny has an NDA, doesn't she?
I'm not sure.
You don't know?
I don't talk to Sonny about her business with Mr. Diggs.
You thought the fact that you were being asked to sign an NDA was an indication that Stefon still didn't trust you.
No,
Right?
no. It was now signing NDA after you assault me. I had information on you.
You didn't
and you
say
think I was leaving.
Ma'am, it's not responsive.
Steph's attorney rounds out day one, clarifying that although Mila claims she is owed unpaid wages, the truth is Steph texts Mila to clear up any unpaid balances, and then he sent her on her way.
Here go that bread you was supposedly owed, I guess. That's what he said to you, right?
Sounds like a quote.
And he Apple paid you $2,000, didn't he?
Yes.
And then he left another $2,000 on the stair railing in his home for you.
And that was for the week that I was there.
And he asked you 3 times in your text message, what else do I owe you? And you never gave him a number, did you?
I said they owe me grocery. I had given Sonny the grocery reimbursement, the person that was my contact for giving receipts to.
So the record's clear. You came back on December 9th.
To get my money that I was owed.
You worked. And then on December 13th, Steph told you didn't need to work there anymore. Right?
I'd already had in my mind that I was quitting.
You were furious with Steph on December 13th, weren't you?
No.
No?
No.
Do you remember that Shy Charles was actually at Steph's house that day?
Yes.
And she was braiding his hair?
Yes.
And you sat with Shy and you talked to her until 3 a.m, didn't you?
Yes.
You made Shy a kind of confession in that conversation, didn't you?
A kind of confession?
Yeah. You told her Steph was going to pay.
No, I did not. I do not recall.
I'm going to remind you you're under oath, and I'll ask you that question again. Did you or did you not sit with Shy Charles on December 13th, a few hours after you were fired from your job, and tell Shy that Steph Diggs was going to pay?
No.
Did you tell Shy you were going to sue Stefon?
No.
So after you were fired on the 13th, you stayed in the house, I think you said 2 more days, right? And then when you left his house, you went to the Dedham police station.
No.
You went to the Dedham police station on December 16th.
I left his house on the 15th.
And you told them he'd assaulted you 14 days before.
On December the 2nd.
And you had to pick a day that was long enough ago that it would explain why you didn't have any injuries, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
That's a
Part
good
of the
objection.
lesson you were going to teach Steph was to make a false police report. Isn't that true?
Objection.
And with that, day one ends. But Mila's not done, child. She will be back for more cross-examination on day 2. But if I was her, I might try to call in sick.
Those are really good objections by the prosecutor there, because at that point the defense was testifying, trying to slip in the reasoning behind, trying to ascertain, okay, this is what you were thinking. That's an easy objection. But again, you try slipping these things under. So even when you object, all right, sustained. You think everyone in the back there, the jury box, is like, oh, no, it says sustained, so let me forget that. No, they're already thinking that. And the defense simply highlights that when you say that. It just like, it pings in their mind like, it does make sense. The timeline does fit what I would know would happen with someone that was pissed. You told me she was pissed. I didn't believe it until you said, yeah, you were fired. You stayed there. You know, you had a conversation. You said, oh, I'm going to make him pay. Maybe this comes up later on. This is building a foundation. Then you go straight to the police. Oh, yeah. Why would you wait so long? Well, I don't know. But then the defense comes in and say, it's probably so the bruises disappear, if there were any. That's why you waited so long. Or, hey, you only did it because, oh, you were fired. And this is when you were fired. So you said, I'm going to make him pay and go back in there. Now, again, it's not that the defense is telling the complete truth, that they need to tell. You hope they do that, but what they're doing right now is laying the foundation, trying to fill in the gaps and lead you towards a conclusion that kind of just makes sense. A reasonable person would say, yeah, that does make sense. And in absence of actual evidence, actual bruising, If you were trying to be petty and get back at someone, your employer, I can see that happening. That's all the defense has to do, and then just let you kind of flounder in the way you approach and the way you talk about some of these things. Yeah, she was shocked. We ratted her out. That's what it was. Yeah, the one doing the hair. Yo, we were besties. I went to your house, right? And you just kind of let this thing go. You let this. You just told the truth. How dare you? Right? That's the last thing you should do. What about the sisterhood?
I'm
We'll
not
find
a
out about
lawyer,
sisterhood.
but let's talk about what happened on day 2 of the Stefon Diggs trial. Okay, so day 1 ended with the victim in this case, Chef Mila Adams, on the stand being cross-examined by Steph's attorney.
So listen, this is real quick. This is one point I wanted to highlight, and I said this on the phone. I think it was I forgot. I think I was talking to Jasmine today about this. Once you, right, day 1 happened. You survived day 1. As a prosecutor, when I meet with you, I've got to tell you the truth. That went horribly for you. That did not help our case. The way you answer these questions, you have to answer in this sort of fashion. Otherwise, you're going to keep annoying the judge. You're going to keep distracting the jury, and they're not going to believe what you have to say. So now, again, I'm making an assumption. I'm thinking that you got a competent prosecutor, and I think you don't for the following reasons. As a prosecutor, you have to go and look and say, is this winnable? This doesn't look winnable. Why is it not winnable? Well, we don't really have evidence. We don't have witnesses. I have you and have one other person. And when I sat down and talked to you, your story is flim-flam. Your story jumps around the place. The timeline doesn't support you. Why, as a prosecutor, did I move forward with this? Am I hoping that the court of public opinion already wants to crucify Stefon Diggs because of the Cardi, the situation, him, Super Bowl, him having all this? Am I leaning that way and thinking we'll have the jury on our side? So that kind of makes up for a lot of other things. I think, again, like I stated, if this was 10 years ago, as a prosecutor, yeah, I would make this case. I would take this case and say, no. I don't really need a lot of evidence. I got a lot of court of public opinion swaying these people's ideals. That's enough for me. But I think we can see firmly we're moving away from that age of believe all women. We're moving to the age like people be lying, right? People be lying, men and women. People be lying. Show me the proof. Where is it? I want to believe you, but I need some sort of proof. Just the same thing with the DoorDash girl who recently got indicted. Yeah, man, it was like, you said this, you showed that, I'm going to need some proof. At least law enforcement has moved to that point where it's like, I'm going to need some proof. But did they move forward with this? That's the difference. I have a hard time understanding when you're putting together such a poor case and everything hinges on that witness. If you think that you're going to be able to sway Stefon Diggs and get him on the stand and then tear apart everything he has to say, then that's a bad prosecution strategy. The defendant never has to he doesn't have to. It's not Law and Order where every defendant seems to take the stand. It's not it. He doesn't have to. He can chill. He can relax. He can sit there and look calm and unbothered and put together like the jury's looking at him and interpreting, hey, this guy, he doesn't seem like he's bothered because he knows the truth is going to set him free. And then you have your star witness there fumbling, unsure how to answer these questions, not making sense. Her movement's not making any type of sense. As a prosecutor, I would look and say, I would never take this case. But the whole point of saying this, in between that, you get a chance to get actual instruction from your attorney, i.e. the prosecutor. Say, girl, day 2, I need you dressed like this. The way you dress is great. Keep that up. Secondly, when there's issues or trouble, we know what's coming next. We're following the timeline. You're going to have to reply like this. Let's go over it. Let's practice it. We're going to be up to a decent hour, but we want to make sure you get a good night's sleep. But we got to go and hammer this again and again and again because you have to deliver it. These parts is coming up that you don't have an answer for. You're going to have to sell that in some sort of way. Otherwise, this is not going well. It's not.
And day 2 picks up right back where they left off, which was discussing a text message Mila sent to Cardi B once the criminal complaint she filed was made public.
And in that text message, you told Steph's girlfriend that you were so sorry, but you couldn't talk to her. I didn't say that. especially in the way it was written.
Yes.
Right? And you were talking about the statement that you made to the Dedham police, right?
I don't understand your question.
Did you or did you not write those words?
I don't understand your question. I'm sorry, I don't understand your question without further explaining.
You also asked Steph's girlfriend to, quote, please call my mediator and she will answer everything you need to know. Your mediator issued a money demand to Stefon Diggs December 29th, the day the criminal complaint in this case issued, right?
I can't answer that question.
I'm sorry?
I can't answer that question without explaining further.
Can't answer that question under oath.
Without explaining.
Your mediator demanded $19,000 on that date, didn't she?
For wages owed, yes.
And by the middle of April, you had hired a lawyer to represent you, right?
For workers' comp.
Tell the jury how much I think you described her as a workers' comp lawyer.
I got her because I was injured on the job and I needed to file a workers' comp case. Stefon Diggs did not have proper workers' comp insurance.
Your Honor, 3 weeks ago, your lawyer demanded $5.5 million from Mr. Diggs, didn't he?
Mr. Diggs offered me $100,000 to recant my statement.
That is a yes.
That is the
Your
only...
Honor, may we be heard at sidebar, please?
So again, what I'm thinking, what I'm thinking, this is how you were instructed to answer these things going forward. Or did you not meet with the prosecution? Did you not meet with the prosecutor to tell you, hey, what was your feel? What was it? I don't know how this makes sense for you to go forward. You know, these questions are coming up. These are big issues that they're going to drop. Yo, you came and said, yo, they need 19,000. Mediator said, give me 19K. So back wages. But you go back to the text message and he's asking you, do I owe you anything else? You telling that that you bought $19,000 of groceries and you never reimbursed for that? Is that what the $19,000 is for? Questionable. Now you bring in saying, yo, he offered you $100,000 to recant your statement. Where's the proof of that? Where's the proof of that? And you snuck that in there to the point where they're like, yo, enough, sidebar, right? At that point, these are things that cost you the entire trial before you even get for the jury to even begin deliberating. You can run so far afoul of the judge that even if the jury came back and said, yeah, he did it, I think, right? I think. But when we're talking about the strangulation, okay, maybe not the strangulation, but do you think he cheated out of some wages? For us that are looking at it, for us normal people who don't have any skin in this game, it sounds to us like it's a pure money grab. You were concerned the day it happened about you. I need to be paid. I need to pay me out for the season. Okay, maybe that's the payout for the season that she's talking about for the 19,000, perhaps. But you got hit. You didn't go to the police. You went to New York instead. Stayed a time there. During that time, you looked to be enjoying yourself, but like Gerard's pointed out, you could still be covering a lot of that up. But the demands for the money, the timing of all of it, it's just painting a picture that's like, I think this is about the money.
Wait. Ma'am, $5.5 million? Well, girl, if he offered you $100,000, it sounds like you should have taken it because you are making yourself look silly on the stand. So they take a short break. And when Mila gets back on the stand, Steph's attorney tries that question one more time.
Ms. Adams, 3 weeks ago, your lawyer demanded $5.5 million from Stefon Diggs, correct?
The translation was wild, by the way.
That is client lawyer privilege. I cannot speak on that.
You believe that your lawyer's communications to Stefon Diggs are covered by your attorney-client privilege, ma'am?
I can't answer that question. I don't know the answer to that question.
You're right. You don't.
You know that.
Like, yeah, exactly. Getting prepped, right? Getting prepped is part of the game. Understand that court is theatrical to a certain degree. There's a law, and then there's theatrics, because it's dealing with jurors, and jurors are not, fact finders of the law. They're not experts. They have their opinions. You can, even if you ever you see some of these jurors talk about what it was like back there, or sometimes they have a camera there, and they'll have their whiteboards, their pen and paper. They'll draw diagrams. They'll try to be as reasonable as possible. But where they fall on certain topics is always going to be based on their own life experience, their own lived experience, and who seemed credible. Because for all that we believe, for all that we understand, outside of hard science, that's why we love DNA, that's why we love fingerprints. These things put you at the scene, right? And depending on the type of crime, if I'm saying I never did X, Y, and Z to her, but you find my semen inside her, well, I'm lying. Because how else did it get there? Oh, it final destination left my body, came up. No. You understand that science says he was there and he did this activity, because otherwise it couldn't be there. But outside of hard science, as the public has become used to seeing, when it comes down to cases like this, when they're saying there's no evidence, there's no photos, who seems believable? And now the burden of proof, as it starts with the prosecution, and the burden of proof is going to lie on their star witness. Stefon doesn't have to say a thing, because you can only hurt your case. You're not as clever, you're not as intelligent as these people that have studied this and practiced this for years upon years upon years. You're not going to outsmart, a lawyer in their backyard. You may have an astounding IQ. You may be hyper intelligent, but you don't know the actual courtroom procedures. Things like this actually end up sinking you, end up doing you more harm than good. That's why we tell you, just get an attorney. At least you can help them put on a good case, a strong case. Here, you're trying to say, what me and my lawyer talked about. This is you being prepped. It's confidential. Did anyone explain how that works? It's instead of leaning in and saying, this was a bad thing, or I don't really have a proper answer that's going to satisfy you. No, you're trying to backpedal and protect the way you've been improperly answering questions. I can't say that without explaining further. You guys get mad when I explain further. Again, this is you prepped. And any good attorney, any good lawyer, any good prosecutor is going to make sure you're prepped and ready for that.
Someone on your behalf has demanded $5.5 million from Stefon Diggs, don't you?
I have a workers' comp claim, and
Your Honor?
I've explored all civil options.
Ma'am,
I don't understand.
are you able to answer that question?
No, I'm
Counsel,
not
restate
able
the
to.
question, please.
You know that someone on your behalf has demanded $5.5 million from Stefon Diggs.
Do you know that, Miss Adams?
No, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know how to answer the question. I don't understand.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mila girl, all the best, honey. You probably should have taken that 100,000. After Mila, the prosecutors called the officer Mila gave her statement to at the police station. His testimony wasn't long, and he basically just recapped what was said in the report, and that was it for the prosecutors. Those were the only two witnesses the prosecutors called to try and prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Stefon Diggs strangled and assaulted Mila Adams. Two witnesses. And then the defense began the presentation of their case. So, first witness up on the defense side is a digital forensics expert, and he's the one who used Steph's phone to show that Mila had deleted some messages in the screenshots that she gave to police. And then after the expert, the defense called Steph's chief of staff, Janelle Salas, aka Stealing Sonny.
Yes, that's my nickname.
That's is that SUNNYNIE? Is it?
SUNNY and then SUNNI.
Okay, so both ways, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sonny testifies that the day the alleged incident happened, she was at Steph's house preparing for the group to go to Miami. Steph had
Side question. I'm. Was he messing with Sonny too? I don't think I heard that. I hope not.
left in the morning to go to practice, and
The one with the purse, you always leave that alone. Maybe the one to cook, the chef, fine, but the one with the purse strings, Keep that professional.
Sunny says she left shortly after to get her hair done.
Do you remember getting back to the house?
Yes.
Do you remember what time that was?
It was in the afternoon after I had ran my errands from my hair appointment. Yes, it's the car returning home.
This video?
It's the Maybach coming home.
3:40 p.m.?
Yes.
Is that consistent with your recollection of when you got home?
Yes.
A couple hours after arriving back at the house, Sunny says she recalls Mila asking her about getting a flight to Atlanta.
When you spoke to her that afternoon in the kitchen, did you observe anything on her face?
No.
Anything on her neck?
No.
Did you see any redness or swelling?
No.
Was she crying at all?
No.
What was she doing?
She was walking around looking for a piece of a paper and a pen to write a card, write a note to him for his birthday gift.
That afternoon, was there anything on Mr. Diggs' schedule?
He had ozone therapy and massage. I believe I told them both to come at 5.
Sunny testified that she didn't remember any screams or banging or anything out of the ordinary that day, but she does recall that Mila made dinner that night.
Miss Adams cooked dinner that night?
It was like a hot dog. It was like and there was like mustard on it, but it was like left on the counter and it was like dried up. And then in the room, it was like dried up. So there was like 2 that were made. It was like a hot dog or like, like Auntie Anne's when they have like the pretzel dogs. It kind of looked like that, but it just looked dried up.
This so shady. The next witness is the woman who performed the ozone therapy for Steph that day. And she says she arrived at Steph's house around 4:50 and didn't notice anything out of the ordinary while she was there.
So then fair to say you were in that house that afternoon for about an hour, maybe a little less?
Yes.
Okay. Anything out of the ordinary that day?
Not that I recall.
Hear anything unusual?
No.
Did you see anything unusual?
No.
The next witness is the massage therapist that Steph had that day, and she arrived to the house between 5:45 and 6 p.m. According to her, she said she does recall Mila bringing in a gift to Steph's room during the massage, but the therapist also didn't notice anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, so I was working on his right side leg, and because the door is in front of me and I can see whoever was walking in. She was walking in. She saw that he was asleep, left, and kind of came back at a later time. When she came back at a later time, he kind of woke up because he was asleep. And she kind of went over to the bed and she asked him, there was something on the bed. She asked him if he was going to keep it. And then he said yes. And then she turned around and left. It was a black box, but I'm not sure.
Did you see any marks on her neck?
No, she had a black jacket on. So I don't think I could see her neck, but I didn't see anything on her face at the time.
The next witness is a woman named Melissa, and Melissa handles the finances for Steph's business and his personal dealings, including the payments to his private chef, Mila Adams. And according to Melissa, Mila Adams is not owed anything.
Do you recall receiving an invoice from Ms. Adams on December 1st of 2025?
Yes. Well, immediately I knew that it was incorrect because I had paid her weekly for 2 of those weeks. So it raised a flag. I needed to figure out, had I made a mistake or had she made a mistake? I pulled up every payment that we had made to her for the last 18 months, as far back as I could go. And then I went through every receipt and reimbursable that we paid her for the last 6 months.
What did you learn from conducting your audit?
That she had submitted receipts multiple times over the course of 6 months, the same receipt. That she had submitted reimbursements for packages sent that were paid by our Federal Express account for reimbursement, that we had overpaid her. I think the total was $2,500 and change at that time, with an additional $744 that maybe was legitimate. I couldn't substantiate because there wasn't a date on it. So that was more in a gray area.
Melissa says she reached out to Mila to discuss these discrepancies, but Mila never responded. And then when Melissa followed up with Steph about the discrepancies, he really just wanted to make sure Mila was paid and taken care of. Now, Melissa says because of all this talk about Mila and these payments, that prompted her to go through Mila's employment paperwork, including the NDA. And that's when she realized there was no paperwork.
He's like, get me a report, and he had wanted to make sure that she was paid, and I told him I would get him a report, and he was fine.
Did there come a time when you were aware that there was some paperwork not completed that you would have expected to be completed?
At the beginning when I took over, I asked for those things as, I think it was the beginning of December when the invoice didn't match what I had. You know, I'm buttoning things up. It's the end of fourth quarter. We're closing out the end of the year, so I wanted to make sure we had everything. So, you know, I was going through everybody's paperwork. But yes, it was about the beginning of December I realized we don't have her paperwork. I asked Sunny if she had collected it, and I emailed Mila asking for it.
Okay, the next witness for the defense was Steph's hairstylist, Shy Charles. And if you recall, Shy is the person Mila went to see in New York the day the alleged incident happened. Shy says her and Mila were co-workers, but they also were friends, to the point that Mila came with Shy to Trinidad and Tobago to meet Shy's family.
I took her to Tobago. She spent time with my family, with my grandmother.
See, that looks more his speed, right? Rather than like Sunny. Yeah, that looks more his speed. I mean, I'm speculating.
Yeah, I actually bought her ticket to go to Tobago.
So fast forward to the date of this alleged incident. Chai says she was at Target grocery shopping when she decided to call Mila because she was trying out a new recipe. So the two of them are on FaceTime, and Chai says Mila mentions that she's planning to come to New York.
So I FaceTime her. I told her what I was doing. We spoke about the pasta, and all the ingredients I needed to get. And she was like, girl, I'm not going to Miami. And she said she's going to go home to Atlanta for a couple of days. Then she's going to come to New York. Well, she's going to go home to Atlanta, but she's going to stop off in New York for a couple of days. I asked her where she was going to stay. She said at a hotel. I'm like, girl, we friends. You don't have to stay at a hotel. You could stay at my place.
Chai picks Mila up from the airport, and thanks to the dash cam that's in her car, Mila is filmed on the day of the alleged incident.
We were listening to Cranes in the Sky by Solange, and we were just talking about what the song was about. We went to Jersey. I have a house in Jersey City, so we went to Jersey City. Eat wings and watch TV, just chill.
Do you remember how long Miss Adams ended up staying at your house?
Probably like a week, a little over a week.
Did you observe any bruising, redness on her neck or chest?
No.
Did you observe anything on her face?
No.
Did Miss Adams ever tell you that she had been assaulted or strangled?
No.
A couple days after Mila leaves back to Boston, Chai says she also flies into Boston to do Steph's hair. And while she's at the house doing his hair, Chai recalls Mila asking Steph about some money.
Did you see anything unusual on the evening of December 13th when you were doing Mr. Diggs' hair?
Yeah, so Mila was in the back of us, like in a little dining area, and she shouts over to him, yo, Steph, when am I gonna get my money? And he responds, I think you spoke to the accountant? And her demeanor changed, his demeanor kind of changed, but I wasn't paying any attention to it. I was just doing my job. So after a while, she moves from behind on the dining table and she comes to the front, like on the side, like a love seat area thing. And she was there on her phone and she was just like laughing really loud.
Later that night or the next morning, you spoke to her again?
Yeah, like in the, probably midnight, 1 a.m.-ish. Yeah, she came downstairs and we were talking.
Did she tell you she was going to take any action?
Yeah, she said she was going to sue him for the money that he owes her. And, she going to take it to the blog. She going to
take it to the block?
Blogs.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then the last witness of the trial is Chai's friend, Talia. Talia ended up hanging out with Chai and Mila for that week in New York. And she also says she does not remember anything unusual with Mila.
Did you notice any marks or bruises or redness on Ms. Adams' face?
I did not.
Did she complain at any point about soreness or stiffness or, soreness or stiffness?
No, she did not.
There was a short cross-examination for Talia, and then both sides presented their closing statements, and then the jurors began deliberating. I think they deliberated for about an hour, and then they reached a verdict.
On count one, strangulation or suffocation, what is your verdict? Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
On count two, the charge of assault and battery, what is your verdict? Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Child, what a mess. 2 days of an absolute mess.
So listen, typically when jurors are done quite quickly, it's usually bad for the defense. That's what we see traditionally. Like, it was such an easy case, clear cut. Boom, he did it. The prosecution usually puts on a clear cut, understanding, convincing case that we don't have to go back and deliberate. You take that initial tally, you say, yo, whoa, show of hands, guilty, not, yeah, no, we with it. Other times you may take a little time to say, I was a little confused about this, and you got to deliberate. You go back and forth and you sway people from one side to another. Usually sometimes you have people on the fence, they're curious about this, but after 2 days, they're like, you could even come to a conclusion like, maybe he did it, but where's the evidence? You guys talk it through. But when it's done quickly like that, they're pretty convinced. And in the case of like, all right, let's move this to a civil trial. At least you would know, right? Whoever, because I do believe he'll still be sued civilly because we're just in a litigious sort of society. We can just sue when we feel like it. They're just trying to sometimes you're trying to throw it against the wall and see what sticks. So the hope would be, yeah, we just sue him civilly. Maybe he'll come and just settle for this. He is a star. He does have money. Sometimes you just want it to be done. You don't want to be in the limelight. You don't want to be continuing to pay for his defense. That's a really great strategy for people that don't have money, yet you still want money from them. It's a strange way to sort of exist like this. He may have done it, but now it comes down to, can you prove it? We all know what we all learned from training days. Now what you know is what you can prove. If you assaulted him, we know where there's certain behaviors that we are accustomed to seeing. Some of them are none. Some of them are, you still are with the person that you abuse. You still have reason. You still have feeling. You still look and say, I should be with this person. But one thing I think a lot of us can agree on, it's difficult today to try to get a read on things because the pendulum is constantly swinging back and forth. We went from a time where it's just like, if the accusation was made, that was enough. That's all we needed. Now, in an overcorrection, now they have the expectation that you behave exactly in these steps. If you're abused, you're immediately supposed to go get pictures, tell someone, let people know that this happened to you. You're supposed to be the bravest of the brave and basically stand up for yourself, even though we can recognize that this may be a life or death situation for you, that this abuse was not the first time you were abused. It was just an ongoing thing, and it's difficult for you to extract yourself from that. We try to hold these two things together, but during the overcorrection, we're expecting assault victims to be perfect. I don't think that's what's happening here. I think that they put on such a poor case because you had poor materials to start with. We don't want to have what we call the cooling effect, the chilling effect, that because you witness people that say they were abused not get justice, then you in turn say, I might as well not say anything. I might as well not report it. That's how things go drastically underreported. This is the fear. This is where you try to balance this. This is the only reason I can come up why the prosecutors say we're still just going to try it. We don't want other people to come forward and say, well, I don't think I'd be represented well, or I don't think anyone would take me seriously. The other side of that is the prosecution also has a duty to say, there's not enough evidence here, or it's okay, I don't think this happened the way you think it happened. I think you may need help and assistance in something, but from what you're telling us, all we can do is waste the court's money, waste the people's money. I think if you change the states, you change the areas, you would get different versions of what each prosecutor would say would take this and push this forward. I think it's weird that they would look and say, yeah, we have two witnesses. One of them just simply being the cop who says, you took this report? Yeah. If everything is hinging on your witness and even just listen to her, it looks shaky. You don't try the case, right? You don't move forward the case because one, what happens in these, we all know double jeopardy attaches. You can never try him for this again. Why waste the attempt if we know we're not going to have a good shot at making this actually stick, of actually revealing the truth here? I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense from a layperson's point of view. Rather than saying, I'm going to try this, we're going to swing and a miss. Don't worry, we can try for something else. Anything related to this? You shot and you missed badly. I think that too has a chilling effect. Now, people that are looking and say, you see, they be out here making the false stories, the false accusations. The only difference between us and Stefon Diggs is, well, there's a boatload of money, and obviously a harem and an mansion and all this. But if you're poor, try not to be, because you can't mount an effective defense, even for 2 days. The amount of testimony that probably went through, the amount of hours leading up to that, everything that needed to be put together, it's expensive. You can't defend yourself because you're relying on a public defender. That's when most cases end up settling. Now, is it true that he offered $100K? We don't have any proof or evidence of that. It's, again, just talking as a layperson, when you see someone take such meticulous notes, or people around them take such meticulous notes about things and have things well documented, follow them, say, hey, where's the NDA from such and such? So she didn't have it. Let me reach out and take care of that. You've got a system in place. You got people in place that know what they're doing, that are willing to go and testify, say, yeah, this is what it is, this is what it's not. It becomes difficult to now say, okay, when was the offer for 100K made? Because it seemed you primarily communicated via text. If you're so concerned with the money, when was this offer made? Just give us context in that, but it has to be introduced in the right way. Not underhanded, not hearsay. I think that's why the prosecutor probably say, yo, throw that in there. That's a poor strategy. And I don't know if it's a sign of times that we're moving from a place where you simply carte blanche believed everyone that accused, a man, or are we moving to a point in time where it says you better come with some sort of evidence? If you're being abused, we want you to get help. We want that person thrown on the bus. I'm a big proponent of that. But if not, if you're just jaded and upset that what you had is now over, or you've been supplanted, or he was callous in the way he said this is done, you're fired. Not that I had to break up with you because we're not in a relationship. We have this weird relationship where, we have sex and you cook hot dogs, and everyone else in the house is also under that same treatment, yet they just do something different. They do a little something different from me. But the girlfriend here, the main squeeze is going to be Cardi B. And either you accept that, and it seemed like you were cool with it until not. So I think it's tricky, but I think there's a lot to be learned, a lot to be taken away from this. So for those of you that have caught it, that do, I appreciate you guys joining us in this impromptu stream of, wow, what the hell just happened? So with that being said, guys, go out and enjoy some dried hot dogs from Auntie Anne. And besides that, check out what else we have on the channel. I'll see you in the next one.